Hello, welcome to Hattie Talks. I hope you're all well and safe. Thank you for those of you who have already subscribed, and if you haven't, go do it now. Every Tuesday I sit down and I talk about a historic figure or a historic event. This week I'm kind of talking about multiple historic figures, so I hope you don't mind. In case you didn't know, Lin-Manuel Miranda's amazing musical Hamilton has just been released on Disney+. No, this isn't sponsored, but hey Disney+, hit me up. It has been requested that I talk about Alexander Hamilton, so I'm going to do just that, as well as some facts about the people around him as well. So please subscribe, like and comment, and let's go! To be honest, I strongly recommend you check out Hamilton the musical, as I'm going to skip over the main storyline of Hamilton, just because I'm aware that most of you will have watched it. But let's start with a brief background on Alexander. Quick warning, there will be spoilers. He was one of America's founding fathers. He was an orphan from the Caribbean who wrote a poem which inspired people to pay for him to go to mainland America, Boston first and then onwards to New York. In 1773, he started his studies at King's College, and he eventually joined George Washington's staff during the Revolutionary War. He was a huge part of the war, both in his writings and as a fighter. After a political disagreement with Burr, his once friend, the pair had a duel and Hamilton died. Okay, so that was the brief facts. I'm now going to focus on facts that Hamilton either doesn't mention or mentions very cleverly, and yeah. I'm going to try and order these facts in some sort of a chronological order, so wish me luck. So historians aren't actually sure how old Alexander Hamilton was. He was born on 11th of January, we know that much. He claimed multiple times to be born in 1757, but the Nevisian records say he was born in 1755, and an article written just after his mum died claimed he was 13, which would make his date of birth 1755. There are two main theories for this. If 1757 is correct, it is likely that there is an error in the records, and that when the article was written, Hamilton lied about his age. He would much rather be 13 and therefore more employable than 11. If 1755 is correct, it is likely that Hamilton lied about his age during the time he signed up for the King's College. He wanted to appear younger than his other classmates and therefore more impressive. In the musical and in real life, Alexander Hamilton refutes Samuel Seabury, a Loyalist. But this did not mean that he agreed with mobs attacking Loyalists. On the 10th of May, 1775, Hamilton saved his college president, Miles Cooper, a Loyalist, from being attacked by an angry mob. He did this by speaking to the crowd for so long that Cooper was able to escape, which is pretty impressive to talk for that long. Another fact. I'm sure you have all heard of the Reynolds Pamphlet, in which Hamilton hangs his dirty laundry out to dry and tells the world of how he had an affair with Maria Reynolds. Did you know that that song actually includes exact quotes from the original Reynolds Pamphlet that he released? Now, Hamilton's son Philip inherited Hamilton's hot-headedness and temper. And after hearing George Eaker give a speech on Independence Day in which he denounced Alexander Hamilton, Philip began to hold a grudge against Eaker. Philip and his friend Richard Price attended a play in which Eaker was there, and they began to heckle him. Eaker suggested that they talk in a tavern later on to try and talk it out, diffuse the situation, but the tension didn't break. I know what you're thinking. Hattie, we know all this. It's in the musical that you just told us to watch like 15 times. And we watched it, and now you're telling us stuff that we already knew. Well, did you know that it was actually Richard Price who first initiated a duel with George Eaker, which occurred and was uneventful, i.e. no one was hurt. Philip then thought, peace, now I need an apology. So he tried to get an apology out of George Ika by first apologising himself. But Ika refused. Now Philip has siblings. Surely he knew that just because you apologise doesn't mean the other one's going to apologise back. Like, the amount of times I've fought with my sister and you say sorry first and they're like, haha, now you've said sorry and I don't have to say it back. Like, did he not know these things? Anyway, pride hurt, Philip then challenges him to a duel himself. Philip allegedly shoots to the sky, but Ika does not. And Philip dies. The pistols that were used in this duel are the same pistols that Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr then use 3 years later. Speaking of, during the song The World Is Wide Enough, the ensemble and Burr proclaim, "He aims his pistol at the sky." Not like that. They go, "He aims his pistol at the sky, wait!" But did he? On July the 11th, 1804, Hamilton and Burr meet at Weehawken, 7 a.m. to duel. It is the same spot Philip Hamilton had had his duel and then died 3 years before. Now, according to Hamilton's second, Hamilton thought that the duel was morally wrong and that he deliberately fired into the air. Burr's second states Hamilton fired at Burr and missed. There is evidence of a broken branch that would have been just behind Burr's head. Bear in mind, both seconds have their back turned so that they can claim that they saw no fire, so neither technically know what really happened. This also means that they don't actually know who shot first. Historian Joseph Ellis gives his best guess. Quote, "Hamilton did fire his weapon intentionally and he fired first, but he aimed to miss Burr, sending his ball into the tree above and behind Burr's location. In so doing, he did not withhold his shot, but he did waste it, thereby honouring his pre-duel pledge. Meanwhile, Burr, who did not know about the pledge, did know that a projectile from Hamilton's gun had whizzed past him and crashed into the tree. According to the principles of the code Julio, Burr was perfectly justified in taking deadly aim at Hamilton and firing to kill." So there we go. We don't really know. Might have been Hamilton's fault, might have not been. As Burr says in the song, Hamilton is wearing his glasses, so it kind of implies that he was going to be aiming and therefore might have just missed. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. In the same song, Burr says, "This man will not make an orphan of my daughter." But what did happen to Theodosia Burr? Theodosia was just 11 years old when her mother died. And as her father's only surviving child, she was raised as the heir to his legacy and therefore was well educated. She was also described as extremely beautiful. In 1801, she married Joseph Alston, and they became the first couple to honeymoon at the Niagara Falls. Years later, tragedy struck when their son died of malarial fever. She said, quote, "There is no more joy for me. The world is blank. I have lost my boy." Which is really sad. Devastated, she decided to set sail to see her father. Worried for her safety, Burr organised for Dr. Timothy Green to accompany her on her trip. On December 13th, 1812, she boarded the Patriot, which departed Georgetown into open water, and she was never seen again. There are loads of conspiracy theories about her disappearance, but one of the most interesting ones is this. In 1869, Dr. Poole and his daughter Anna visited his patient in North Carolina. In the patient's house, she was called Polly Mann, there was a painting of a young woman, which Anna described as a beautiful young woman about 25 years of age. Dr. Poole became convinced that this was Theodosia, and the patient told them that her deceased husband had found it at a shipwreck near North Carolina. Paul spent years trying to prove that this was Theodosia and kept asking her family members if they had a likeness, but unfortunately the family members couldn't quite agree whether it was her or wasn't her. The most likely thing to have happened to her was that the Patriot had sunk. Fierce storms had plagued its routes, and many other ships had sunk nearby, and therefore it's not unlikely that hers did as well, and that she drowned. Sorry to end on such a sad note. I hope you've enjoyed today. If you did enjoy it, please let me know in the comments and subscribe. And if you'd like some more Hamilton facts, I do have more, I just didn't want to overload you a bit. So do just comment in the sections and I will make another video like this one. Have a lovely day, stay safe, wear your masks please, be nice to each other, and thank you for joining me.